Have you ever wondered what could drive a person to hijack their own plane? It's a question most of us would never think to ask, yet it's one that is fundamental to the unusual tale we're about to delve into. Picture a day as normal as any other. A day where the sun rose as expected, commuters hurried to work, and flights took off and landed routinely at airports around the world. One of these flights, a nondescript, seemingly ordinary journey, was piloted by a man who, on the surface, appeared just as ordinary. Meet our protagonist, a seasoned pilot with countless hours of flight time under his belt. He was a man well versed in the rhythms and routines of the sky. The son of a mechanic and a schoolteacher, he'd developed a fascination with the mechanics and freedom of flight from a young age. This fascination led him down a path that ended in a career in aviation, a career that for the most part had been unremarkable. Yet beneath the veneer of normalcy, there were subtle signs that all was not well. Colleagues would later recall his growing restlessness, his frequent far-off stares into the horizon, and an unshakable sense of melancholy that seemed to cling to him. These peculiarities were noted, but dismissed as the quirks of a man under the constant stress of navigating the skies. His life, like the flights he controlled, followed a predictable pattern, a pattern that included the humdrum routines of pre-flight checks, the drone of the aircraft engines, and the familiar voice of air traffic control guiding him through the maze of the sky. But that day was different, and no one could have guessed what was about to happen. As the plane took off, the pilot's voice came over the intercom, but the message was far from routine. The usual pre-flight banter, the charming voice of the pilot, was replaced with a chilling announcement. The pilot, the very person entrusted with the safety of all the souls on board, declared he was hijacking the plane. The plane, a steel bird soaring through the clouds, suddenly felt like a cage for the passengers and the crew. The cabin was filled with a deafening silence, then a cacophony of gasps and whispers. The once comforting hum of the engines now echoed with a sinister undertone. The crew, trained to handle turbulence and technical glitches, found themselves navigating a sea of panic and confusion. Their eyes mirrored the fear of the passengers, but their professionalism held strong. They moved through the aisles, trying to maintain a semblance of calm, soothing the passengers with reassurances that felt hollow even to them. Passengers, settling into what they thought would be a routine journey, were suddenly thrust into a nightmare. The mother comforting her child, the businessman engrossed in his laptop, the elderly couple holding hands, all united in their fear. The walls of the plane seemed to close in, the air grew stifling, and every minute stretched into an eternity. The pilot's voice, once a source of comfort, now became a harbinger of dread. Each word, each sentence he spoke sent waves of panic through the cabin. The plane shifted course, the autopilot was disengaged, the flight plan was abandoned. In the cockpit, the co-pilot sat frozen, his faith in his companion shattered. The trust, the camaraderie they had shared, now replaced with a cold fear. The plane, their shared responsibility, was now a weapon, their lives and those of the passengers, mere pawns in a game they didn't understand. The undercurrent of fear surged as the plane veered off its original course. Each turn, each change in altitude, a stark reminder of their predicament. The plane, once a symbol of freedom and exploration, was now a prison flying through the sky. As the plane changed its course, the fate of everyone on board hung in the balance. While the plane was in the air, a deadly game of cat and mouse was taking place on the ground. In the midst of chaos, the heroes of the story are often found in the most unexpected places. The air traffic control room was now a war zone, where the invisible battle of wits was being waged. Air traffic controllers, trained to manage the skies, found themselves in a situation no one could have prepared them for. Their screens, normally showing paths of safe passage, now reflected a dangerous dance of defiance. Their task was daunting, trying to communicate with a rogue pilot who had turned a commercial airliner into a potential weapon. Initial attempts at establishing a line of communication were met with static, the silence hanging heavy in the room. But as the saying goes, where there's a will, there's a way. Their persistence paid off. Soon, the crackling voice of the pilot echoed through the speakers, a chilling reminder of the life and death scenario playing out thousands of feet above. Meanwhile, law enforcement agencies were scrambling to formulate strategies. Every decision, every move was a gamble. The wrong call could result in unimaginable devastation. Their aim, to bring the plane down safely, to save the lives of the innocent passengers aboard, and to prevent further damage on the ground. Specialist teams huddled around tables, maps spread wide, moving miniature planes and markers. They were playing a high-stakes game of chess, where the board was the sprawling city below, and the pieces were real lives. Negotiators, experts in human psychology, attempted to reach out to the pilot, to understand his motivations, to appeal to his humanity, but time was the one commodity they didn't have. With each passing moment, the tension grew, the pressure mounted, the clock was ticking, a countdown to an uncertain end. This was no mere game. It was a battle of wills, a test of courage and determination, a race against time. And at the heart of it all was a plane, soaring high above, oblivious to the frantic efforts unfolding below. With every passing minute, the stakes were getting higher. The pilot's demands were as perplexing as the situation itself. In a twist that no one saw coming, the demands of the pilot were far from the usual expectations in a hijacking scenario. What were they, you ask? Brace yourselves for a wild ride. First, the pilot demanded that all passengers be given a full meal. Yes, you heard that right. Instead of money or political asylum, the pilot asked for the passengers to be fed. This was a demand that left the air traffic control completely dumbfounded. Next, he wanted the plane to be refueled in mid-air, a feat that, while possible, is usually reserved for military operations and not commercial flights. This demand seemed to suggest a long journey ahead, adding yet another layer of mystery to the unfolding drama. Then, the pilot insisted on having a conversation with a renowned philosopher. He didn't ask for a politician, a world leader, or even a negotiator. He wanted to speak with a philosopher. This peculiar demand shed a new light on the pilot's character. It hinted at a deeper, more cerebral motivation behind his actions. But perhaps the most baffling request of all was his demand for a specific type of music to be played over the plane's PA system. He didn't specify a genre or a popular artist. Instead, he asked for a relatively obscure symphony by a long-deceased composer. This request left everyone, from the passengers on board to the officials on the ground, utterly bewildered. Each demand seemed more bizarre than the last, and as the situation unfolded, there was a growing sense of disbelief and confusion. Yet, amidst the peculiarity of it all, there was also a sense of intrigue. It was clear that this was not your typical hijacking. And so, as the world watched with bated breath, trying to make sense of the pilot's strange requests, one question lingered in the air, echoing across newsrooms and living rooms alike. The question on everyone's mind was, what was the pilot really after? What happened next was something no one could have predicted. The hijacking, fraught with tension and uncertainty, took an unexpected turn. The pilot, now revealed as the orchestrator of the chaos, began his descent. With a skill derived from years of experience, he guided the aircraft toward the runway, the engines humming a resonant note of imminent closure. The plane touched down, its tires singing a screeching song against the tarmac. The pilot, having accomplished his audacious act, surrendered without a struggle. His face, etched with a mix of relief and resignation, told a tale more poignant than words ever could. The labyrinthine corridors of justice awaited him, ready to unravel his story and mete out a verdict. Simultaneously, a wave of relief washed over the passengers and crew. Their ordeal was over, their lives no longer hanging in a precarious balance. As the cabin door swung open and the cool night air rushed in, they could finally breathe easy. The passengers, once hostages in an airborne drama, were now survivors, their lives irrevocably marked by an experience they would carry with them forever. The crew, the unsung heroes of the night, had maintained their professionalism in the face of adversity. Their calm demeanor and quick thinking had played a pivotal role in ensuring the safety of everyone on board. Their stories, too, would become part of the larger narrative, a testament to their courage and dedication. In the days and weeks that followed, the event prompted a flurry of media coverage and public discourse. The pilot's motivations were dissected, his actions scrutinized, and his fate debated. The world watched, riveted by the unfolding drama, a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities inherent in our interconnected world. Ultimately, this incident became a catalyst for change. It spurred enhancements in aviation security, underscored the importance of psychological assessments for pilots, and underscored the need for better crisis management protocols. This event changed aviation security forever, reminding us that sometimes the most dangerous threats are the ones we never see coming.